What was life like before you came across Beer Diet Project? Like what were you going through? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So my big issue that I was focused on before I found Beer Diet Project was my skin. So pretty much my entire life, I've had a lot of different issues with my skin, um, allergic reactions to different like products, antibiotics. I've had a lot of different bad reactions to antibiotics. Had my skin break out, like my whole entire body break out before. Just periodic stuff like that. It's kind of a normal thing for me. And then in the summer of 2020, I had what I thought was maybe some type of allergic reaction on my skin, kind of like a heat rash. And this time I couldn't get it to go away on my own. And so I had gone to the dermatologist, and basically everything that they gave me as a treatment made it worse. And then I finally got diagnosed with a rare skin disease. And so I didn't really like the result that I got from the dermatologist. So I kind of was exploring different options to kind of heal my body. And so that's kind of what brought me to looking for different natural solutions to heal my skin. So at the time that I found Beer Diet Project, I had been dealing with basically a rash on like my whole like front torso, back torso, and then it was on some of my like arms and legs at different points. So I was definitely looking for a solution for my skin primarily.
Why did you decide to start with Beer Diet Project? Like what caught your attention? Like what was that interest, I guess, that you took on it?
So some of the things I started researching, I knew I needed to do something with gut health, but I didn't really understand honestly what gut health really was. I knew that the gut health was connected to your immune system. Um, because on top of my whole skin issue, I actually ended up getting walking pneumonia, and I had an allergic reaction to one of the medications they gave me. So then I had the hives on top of my skin disease problem. So when um, I was looking into gut health stuff, and I came across some information about how antibiotics get rid of all the all the good bacteria, or good and bad, from your gut, and that it can take a long time to build healthy bacteria back into your gut. So I was kind of looking into that. Um, I had been drinking a ton of water, like no minerals or anything like Beer Diet Project, but just plain water. And I was drinking over a gallon of water a day. I would have like competitions with my coworkers, but it really wasn't hydrating me. Like it didn't really seem to help. It helped somewhat, but I knew hydration was important. And I had also been looking into vitamin D, but I knew that the vitamin D source that I was doing, I think it was nature made or one of those like over the counter. I knew it wasn't good. So I knew you were on to something, but I didn't like understand it totally. So I thought that like health was, I'll just take a probiotic and hopefully things get better, is kind of where I was at.
Tell us a little bit about what has your experience been, going through the process, going through Beer Diet Project.
Yeah. So once I started with adding the minerals to my water, I could tell a difference that I was actually getting hydrated. So I didn't have to like, I was like, before I was like chugging water just to try to make things better. But I could tell that the minerals were actually helping me. And that's when I started to notice slight improvements with my skin. So that was encouraging. The fermented cod liver oil, adding that in, I was kind of skeptical about how much to add at first. I probably took a little bit more of a cautious approach with the fermented cod liver oil and with the beef organs. But I did start to see results, and I could tell a change in how I felt.
What were some of like the first initial results that you started to see, and what was that process like?
Other than like the hydration, my skin started improving slowly. And then in terms of like before, I just thought that I was a light sleeper, and like I knew I didn't sleep really well, but I didn't realize like how bad it was until like after it had improved. Like for example, when I was really struggling with my skin, I feel like the rash I had on my body was like raising my body temperature at night, and I would wake up really hot and feeling dehydrated. So I was like chugging water in the middle of the night to try to help that. But all of that stopped to where I was actually like sleeping through the night, and I wouldn't wake up like to go to the bathroom. I would actually sleep through the night. So, but before I thought I'm a light sleeper, it sucks to be me, but now I'm actually seeing that I can get better quality sleep. And my sleep has continued to like slowly improve from
So,
where it was.
so I mean, you mentioned like you didn't think that you had a problem, and I think this is common because sometimes I feel like people get used to feeling a certain way, and they just think that it's normal. So what was kind of like the difference, I guess? Like how can you tell that your sleep is better? Like what's the difference now?
I have more like when I wake up in the morning, I actually feel well rested. I have more clarity of thoughts in the morning. I wouldn't describe it necessarily as brain fog or anything like that. I'm not a morning person, but I'm able to deal with mornings a lot better to where like I don't have to have coffee immediately. Like I can function and do a lot of stuff and I feel good. Like I have more energy and I just overall feel really good, like in the morning and throughout the day. One other thing, so I just remembered about the sleep, is that I wear like a Fitbit that tracks my sleep. So I can see like it shows like light sleep versus like REM and deep sleep. So I've kind of tracked it on there too to see how that's improved. And that's improved a lot. Even in like the last probably month or so, I've seen like a really big improvement in terms of like when I look at how much like light sleep versus like REM sleep. Plus I've had a lot of like dreams that I can like remember more. So I'm actually like waking up before my alarm sometimes with that. So, but anyways, I just wanted to throw that in there.
The first time that I remember waking up with a ton of energy, the one thing that stood out that morning was that I woke up and I came out of a dream, and it was the first time that I remember having a dream that was vivid, that was, one of those dreams where you feel like you're awake in the dream. And then it just dawned on me. I was 28 years old at the time, and it dawned on me. It's like, wow, like I can't remember when was the last time that I had a dream like that. And so, is that kind of like what you've experienced? Like, do you feel like your dreams are that like more vivid, or how would you describe them?
Yeah, I dream like way more frequently than I used to. It used to be like every so often I would, and now it's like almost every night or a lot more frequently that I remember them, or they seem more real.
what would be like your favorite result where you're like, I'm glad that I did this?
Definitely my skin improving with everything. Kind of even along with my skin, my main focus was like um, the the rash that was on like my whole body basically. But I know like my face has really improved, and that's been like a really big surprise that I wasn't even thinking would happen. But like the complexion of my face is really really clear, to where I don't really have a lot of acne or any at all, really. Even like at that time of the month, I'll get maybe one or two. Or if I eat, okay, so there has been one time where I had like a whole bunch of junk food over a weekend, and I think it was maybe a lot of sugar that did it, but my face broke out so bad after that, like worse than ever. Then it cleared up and it's been like clear. But that kind of made me think like I never want to do what I did that weekend again, because I'm so happy with like how my face looks. Um, and I wasn't really expecting that, but that's probably one of my favorite things is with my skin. Cause like I said, I've been to the dermatologist a ton of times. I quit doing all this stuff that you can buy at the store online, all Mary Kay, Proactive, everything. Like I've tried it. It's all been not good. If I would have known that I could just like eat better like a long time ago, I would have been doing this. So
Nice. So tell us, like, what's the change? Like, people want to know, like, what did you do? And I mean, I tell them all the time, but for whatever reason, all people seem to miss it. But coming from you, maybe what were like the changes that you made that you feel made the biggest impact on your skin?
other than like the minerals in the water and the fermented cod liver oil, I think is a really big part of it, those two things. But then just like my diet in general, I've completely cut out any processed foods. And then also the bad oils.
The bad oils. So tell us about the bad oils, because I think there's a lot of people out there who don't even realize they probably are eating a lot of bad oil. So what was your lesson learned there?
Oh gosh. Oh man. The oils are in everything. Like things that oil shouldn't be in, or that you wouldn't even think oil is in, it is in. So like there's certain things I think that I had like on a daily basis that all had bad oils in, um like peanut butter has, oh, like pretty much every standard peanut butter has different oils in it. Coffee creamer. So at the beginning of 2021, I was like, I'm giving up the chemical coffee creamer, because I had pretty much cleaned my pantry and gone through everything, which I've cleaned like my pantry and my kitchen like a few times, a couple different times, and like have gotten rid of things. Um, so that, and then, so the coffee creamer, I decided to give up at the beginning of 2021, the chemical stuff. And now I'm down to just drinking black coffee pretty much. But there's different oils in like coffees, almond milk. There's, believe it or not, oil in milk, almond milk. And then in terms of like vitamin D, I was at the pharmacy at Walgreens one time. I literally checked every single vitamin D at the pharmacy. It has either some type of vegetable oil, corn starch, corn syrup, like all sorts of stuff is actually in there. So it's like slowly being put into people's diets, and they don't really even realize it.
Yep. Yeah. And so I'm glad that we're touching on this because this has been essentially, a process for me to teach this, because when I start to understand a lot about how digestion works and the body start to understand that, hey, in order for you to properly uptake vitamin D, you need healthy fat, but you also need to get rid of a lot of the bad fat. And what we're talking about here is, the bad oils, vegetable oils, they're practically everywhere, even in some of the supplements that are supposed to raise your vitamin D. They put filler that's counterproductive. And most people just don't know any better, right? Because fat isn't bad for you. I mean, what has your experience been as far as like, fat intake in your diet? Like,
Mm.
tell us a little bit about that.
So, yeah. So previously, I was doing like low fat, like chicken and rice or quinoa, lots of vegetables, veggie burgers, that type of stuff. Um, so I was pretty skeptical and kind of scared, honestly, to eat some of the fats because I did not want to gain weight. And so I did try the 30 days of a ketogenic type diet, which was really challenging at first because I found out that I crave sugar a lot more than carbs, actually. But now that I've kind of shifted things, like I really like it a lot because, especially, I think the Greek yogurt that I found, the full fat yogurt, tastes so much better than like other yogurts and things. Like fat is really, really tastes good. So I don't know. And bacon, just stuff like that's really good. So I would rather eat bacon and like full fat yogurt than like chicken and rice. So that's kind of why it tastes good.
So
Yeah.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because there's a lot of people they always like say the same thing. They are like, I don't want to gain weight, and they're afraid of like eating fat. But they don't realize like that's what you need to uptake your vitamin D levels. And not to mention that, I mean, to me, fat is like the premium fuel of the body. It's, your brain feeds off of it. Like that's why I like to say, like, pun intended, like it's smart to eat fat. But a lot of people are afraid to eat fat because they think that they're going to gain weight. But I mean, what have you noticed? Like, have you gained weight, or have you actually seen, like, what have you seen with, now that you've introduced fat into your diet?
So the month that I did the 30 days, I was still at the gym where I had a physical trainer that I was meeting with. And so I did some type of body scan that measured like my body fat and my weight. And gosh, I haven't looked at it in so long. I don't think the actual weight changed, but I gained muscle, I think is what it was. I'd have to look at it, but I didn't like gain weight. Um, so all my clothes still fit fine. Like I feel the same. I haven't actually like weighed myself, but like I have not gained, it's not noticeable if I have gained any weight. And I haven't been exercising a whole lot other than yoga in the past couple of months because of my back, where I was exercising a ton before that. So I think that's a sign, because any other time I've like been inactive for a period of time, I'll always notice like how my clothes fit, and I haven't noticed anything with it.
So would you say that eating fat actually makes it easier to stay lean and toned?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because that's like the message that I try to share to, with people. It's like when I started eating fat, it was the same thing, because I started just like you. I used to think that lean meats and veggies was the healthy way to eat. And I used to think that, oh, if I eat lean meats and cut out fat, I'm going to not get fat. But the opposite was happening. I was actually gaining a lot more weight when I was on a low fat diet. But as soon as I introduced good healthy fats into my diet, I started to lean down. Like it just made it so much easier for me to lose weight. And same thing, like even if I don't work out, as long as I follow like my diet, like it, I don't feel like I need to work out to like maintain my weight, or like at least I don't feel like I gain weight if I if I'm inactive. And then the bonus is, like you said, there's foods that are fatty foods that are really good. I mean, I remember like growing up, I grew up on skim milk. And I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? Like, full fat milk is so much better. Full fat yogurt is so much better, but you have to get the right kind of milk and yogurt, which, we can talk a little bit more about that. But what has been like what are you excited about, like moving forward? I mean, you've gone through barely phase one of the program, so you have a ways to go. You've barely cover like the tip of the iceberg, but what are you excited about moving forward?
Um, I don't know if I can truthfully say I'm like excited to detox, but I think that I will get a good result if I can do more detox. Um, I'm doing intermittent fasting right now pretty consistently. I'd like to be able to do a little more of that, but I don't know if I'm at the place to do that a whole lot, but I'm slowly trying, I guess.
And I love your honesty, because this is actually important for people to know that, especially like anyone that goes through phase one and they're looking to move on to phase two, where essentially that's where we go over detoxing, clean the body, and fasting is one of the tools that we use to detox. I think there's a lot of people that when they hear that, they may start to think like, I don't know, like I don't know if fasting is for me. And in fact, I remember when we first talked about fasting, tell us like what was your reaction? Like, what do you remember what you told me like the first time that I brought up fasting?
Probably like I'll get hangry. Like I cannot do that. I cannot do that because I had like a snack drawer that I no longer have.
Yeah, wait, you had a snack drawer. So okay, so and I remember that's what you told, but you're now intermittent fasting. So what made it so that you wanted to try it out, and how has that experience been so far?
Um, I think the hardest part was honestly like getting rid of the coffee creamer because I really like coffee creamer, but I did discover as I like improve the quality of like the coffee that I drink, that actually tastes better. Some of it actually tastes better without the creamer. So that was kind of the tipping point where I started drinking black coffee in the morning. And then it's pretty much was the start of it. And then I've just kind of played around with like the time that I'm doing. And
So, or did you get hangry when you started fasting?
um, I don't know, maybe a little bit, but
Initially?
now initially, yeah, now I don't really feel that way necessarily. So I kind of have a routine down a little bit with it where I try to stick to the same times, but I'm not like totally disciplined to like really specific times, if I'm honest, but it's generally way better than it was. So I think it's a really good start from where I used to be. So
So it's not as bad as you thought it was to fast. And I mean, are you finding that like, is it helping you? Like, do you like it or?
Yeah, I feel good. Like I don't like eating a lot late at night. And so it stopped me from doing like late snacking and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it's giving me more energy. I don't really know. I don't know. It seems like it's good though. So I'm
Yeah.
going to keep doing it.
How many hours are you fasting?
Um, gosh. Usually, so the times I'm kind of working with is I won't, usually I've been starting out my day with like bone broth is like the first thing, which I thought was really weird when you first talked about it, but I actually like really love it a lot because it's almost like a hot beverage, kind of like coffee, but not coffee. So, anyways, um, usually probably from about 11 or so is so I'll eat between like 11 and like 7:38 is kind of the time frame. So
Okay. What would be like, if someone wants to learn about gut health with what like what advice would you give to someone, starting out? Someone wants to like, they're listening to this, they're like, okay, I think there's something here that can help me improve gut health. Like what would you tell that person to do?
I think just kind of take it slow and like realize that you're not going to accomplish a lot of this like overnight. Kind of like what you've talked about maybe in some of your videos, where in our culture, people are looking for a pill, but it's actually a lifestyle change that happens really slowly just by like starting the to take the first step, like start with just like the minerals and looking at your water, like the hydration challenge. That's going to set you up to be successful through the whole program, because if you're not hydrated, then it's not going to work for you. So I would say start really slow and just realize that, you're starting from where you're at and you can improve slowly. So, and you might not even notice it at first, but over time, every little thing that you're doing is going to, when you look back at where you started, like last year at this time, I was like, I need to give up this chemical, yummy tasting coffee creamer that I now think is actually pretty disgusting. Because heavy cream, fatty, heavy cream is actually the best coffee creamer that you can use if you use coffee creamer. So just even little stuff like that. I would have never thought I would be like drinking black coffee and like intermittent fasting at all if a year ago. Yeah.
And since we've talked a little bit about this, and I'm sure people may hear like, okay, like, so you drink coffee and heavy cream is good. Let's talk a little bit about what are the differences. Like before you were drinking what kind of coffee, and what do you look for in coffee now? Like what have you learned about that?
Um, to be honest, my grocery shopping before all of these health issues, before I became like actually more conscious of it, was to try to be as like cheap as possible. Honestly, um, maybe not as cheap as possible, but I was like definitely more concerned about like how much money I was spending on stuff. Whereas now I'm actually looking at like the quality of the food, like how it was grown, how it was made, and like considering like how this is going to affect my body. Whereas before I really wasn't. So that's
So
probably the biggest.
and I guess for people to realize like what you just said, because it's not even like about cheap, but like how has it been, your shopping experience, like how has that changed? Like what, do you go to the same stores that you used to before? Like What have you noticed with that?
Um, I've always shopped at a lot of different stores because there's like different specific products from different stores. Like there's never like one perfect store, it seems like, that has everything. But I remember once I first went through my pantry the first time and I went to the store. And I was reading a lot of labels, and then I was basically walking around the store reading labels and like cursing because I was really frustrated because I realized I couldn't eat a lot of the stuff anymore. So, like for example, the organic fruits and vegetables, like organic food, I wasn't really sure what organic was. I thought it was just like more money, honestly. I didn't really know a lot about like regenerative farming or any of that. So kind of being aware of like what those things are and why they're important, and kind of researching like how food is made and why, has kind of helped open my eyes to like what brands of food I'm and companies I'm supporting. Um, and when this first had happened, I started going to the farmers market a lot more, to look there. So, like supporting local businesses that are making good products, as opposed to kind of anything that's like mass produced and cheap and popular. It tends to be not good. So,
So, I guess where I was going with that, which I mean, what you've shared is really good, but for me, like when I started to learn about food and the quality of food, I realized that, same thing. Like I would just go to the convenience store, whatever grocery store was nearby, and I started walking around and I realized, oh my God, like I shouldn't be eating like pretty much like any of this food. Like some stores I walk into, like literally there's nothing that I would buy at that store, but there's a lot of people that do and don't know it. To them, it's normal. So, I mean, how has that been for you? Like, do you find that is the case? Like, is it, I don't know. Like to me, it's almost like scary to think that most people buy food that think it's real food, and it's not.
mhm. Yeah, the first thing that I was really looking at was like basically like preservatives in food, because I felt like it was something to do with like preservatives that was affecting my skin. Um, and that's when I started like realizing like what's in our food. Because I had researched stuff about sulfites and like all the different foods they're in, and I got like really overwhelmed at some point. Like I really am not going to eat like anything. Um, and I was like baking my own bread at one point, which it went okay, but yeah, then that's kind of what brought me to the farmers market, was looking into those things. But
Because
it's been hard to explain to people, I would say, like people that aren't aware. I did see one of my friends and my roommate changed her diet for health purposes. So I saw her change over to a vegan diet. So I saw improvements that she did in some ways. So I had that support. Um, but her and I do completely different diets. So she understands it a little bit, probably more than anyone. But for the most part, it's definitely probably not common, I would say, with most of like friends and coworkers and things like that. So,
it's interesting because there was a reading recently that I love because it explains very well what what I felt, what I experienced, and it helped me understand this passage. And this is Romans 12:2, where it says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And I love that Bible verse, because that's essentially what I realized, is that I was following the patterns of this world. I was just like everyone else, waking up and eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Go to the grocery store and buy whatever is, on sale, not really paying attention to where is it grown? Is it local? How is it prepared? Right. I used to just, whatever coffee they would sell at the store, that's what I would buy. And then I started to learn things like, hey, where food is grown and how it's grown really matters, and how it's prepared. Like coffee, if you buy coffee at most places, especially chains, anything that has a drive-through, you're probably getting coffee that's acidic because it hasn't been grown properly. It hasn't been prepared properly. A lot of people don't know, but coffee, or a lot of plants for that matter, are toxic to eat in their raw state. But that's what fermentation does. Fermentation removes a lot of the anti-nutrients. Fermentation draws out a lot of the nutrients, and for some plants, the medicinal properties of these plants. And for coffee, it's no different. Coffee needs to go through a fermentation process, and so a lot of people don't realize. But when I look for coffee, I look for stuff that has gone through a natural fermentation process, because I know that that's going to remove the acidity and it's going to make it taste good, which is what you've learned, right? You've gone from store-bought coffee or commercial, mass-produced coffee to, I call it like the real coffee, like the way that it's supposed to be made. And this is the kind of stuff that you've done. Same thing. Like, I know you've made changes. For example, like, I know you like to bake, but instead of using commercially produced flour, I introduced you to acorn flour, which is the heirloom seed. You've learned about certain things like that. So I guess my next question is, because this is kind of like the challenge, and this is why I'm excited for people that go through this, because I know what it's like to go from not knowing, thinking that everything that you're doing is normal, to slowly awakening to this realization that most people are not aware that the food that they're eating is slowly poisoning their bodies. And when you become aware of that and you start looking around, right, and you're like, you almost get drawn by the masses because everyone is doing it. And when you start doing things differently, you start eating fat, right? You start paying attention to the quality of your water. You start eating fermented foods. Like, some people hear fermented cod liver oil. Ew, what is that? Right. But it's natural. Like, that's what was made for us to be able to take care of our bodies. And that's where, like, I started looking at that. It's like, okay, I can't be like everyone else. Like, I would love to. I mean, I kind of miss my old lifestyle, going to breweries, eating pizza, drinking beer, having dessert afterwards. It was good. It tasted good. But those are the patterns of the world. And for me to do this diet, like to take care of my body, it has required me to make some lifestyle changes. Like, I actually have to care about my body, and that's not always easy. So what have been like some of your challenges, I guess, or like what what do you feel help people? Like, some people are going to get started and they may not stick with it, but if they do, we both know that they're going to get results. So what are some of the challenges, and what would you tell people to help them stick with the program and just know, like, trust the program kind of thing?
I think probably just to make slow changes with what you're doing, instead of like maybe something more drastic. Um, like I had gone through my cupboard like multiple times and like cleaned out different things that I decided I wasn't going to be eating anymore, and then tried to give them away. I ended up like throwing some of them away because I didn't really want to give them to anyone. Um, so I would say start slow with what you're doing. Um, Oh, that's a good question. I think one of the challenges is probably um, may take more time to prepare your food. And like you do have to do more, I guess, research about food in general, um, to find like a good source of ingredients, um, for different foods that you like, or like meals that you like. Um, I do think it helps simplify my diet. I like to bake, and I like to try new recipes and things like that. But even like improving recipes that you may already have by picking better ingredients and then kind of noticing what the difference is. Because that's another thing. I did my own little like experiment with eggs where I made, I did this for my mom actually when I was home. I made scrambled eggs from like the conventional eggs, cage free, and then like pasture raised eggs. I think I made like 3 or 4 different like scrambled eggs. And I had her try them and tell me which ones tasted best, and it was the pasture raised eggs that taste the best. And that's one of the things, because I was eating eggs like every day for breakfast kind of before. And um, I noticed when I started shopping at Sprouts that they only had cage free eggs, and so then I noticed that they kind of tasted better and they cooked better. And so then I started buying different brands of eggs and just like doing those little experiments just so I could see what was different. So it wasn't, I don't know. So it just kind of made sense to me. And so that was one of the things that I did. But just kind of remaking recipes with different ingredients and then noticing that there is actually a really big difference. You know, like the banana bread. I made the banana bread for my family when I was home with like really good ingredients, and they loved it. And then they ran out of the einkorn flour that I gave them, and they made it again, and they said it didn't taste as good. So like just tasting the food and tasting and realizing that real food actually tastes way better. It's kind of hard to go back to eating other stuff,
Yes.
especially when you feel better, your body does better. It's kind of hard to go back. So
What would you say were things that maybe you were doing before that, I don't know, maybe was there anything that I pointed out that once you changed, you saw like a big difference in your diet?
yeah, I used to eat like toast in the mornings, like peanut butter and jelly type toast in the morning, like carbs or like oatmeal, um, stuff like that. And then since I've changed to doing like bone broth or like a smoothie in the morning or like eggs, I think sometimes I had eggs with toast. Um, but if I were to do that now, I don't know, it would just be weird. I think because I would feel tired or like hungry faster if I had like bread first thing in the morning. And like bread is amazing. Like bread is probably like one of my favorite foods as long as it's like really good bread. Like, um,
And and this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like you've realized like all you really did is just change the timing of your food because you didn't exactly cut out bread. You just decided like, I'm just not going to have it first thing in the morning.
mhm.
Right.
Yeah. And I really don't buy bread a whole lot anymore. It's more of like a treat almost, just because I've kind of gotten out of the habit of buying it. Um, but I definitely wouldn't buy any of the bread at the store after having some of the bread that's made better, like at the farmer's market. It just tastes a lot better. So
Real bread, right?
maybe I'll get a better recipe, but some of the bread I made, it was okay, but it wasn't as good as the farmer's market. So, and it's a lot of work to make bread, honestly. So that was kind of some of it. Um, I did the low carb, the ketogenic for a month, and I didn't have any bread during that time period. I did give up bread for a while there. So
Yeah,
after, yeah,
and
after I did the juice, the 3 days of juice.
and that's the thing. It's like that's where like it depends where you're at. Like, maybe because there's people that, the same. I'm the same. Like I did not want to cut out bread. I love bread. I still eat bread. I just realized like, hey, if I have all these gut issues and I want to fix them, like there's certain things that I'm gonna have to do in the beginning. But the goal is not to restrict my diet. It's just to restructure my gut flora so that I can eat the foods that I really love. And that's what I think, people should know about this because, even though it's Beer Diet Project, the word diet doesn't mean that we're restricting food. We're just learning how to improve the quality of food and how it interacts with your body so that we can restructure and improve our gut flora. Last question, I guess, since we've been talking about good quality food and, we started out with, I know a lot of people, they shop, they have the same, the patterns of the world. They go to the convenience store, whatever's on sale, they buy. I personally don't think that it's that much more expensive to buy real food, especially because it actually nourishes me. So I eat a lot less than I did before. Like before, I would eat 3 meals a day plus snacks in between, and I was still hungry. And not to mention that because I had such a bad diet, I had to buy a ton of supplements that I thought I needed. And I was spending a lot of whatever I was saving on food, I was spending on supplements. And I feel like that was way more expensive, especially when I got to the point where they were telling me that I was going to have to take hormones for the rest of my life. Like there's people that are spending so much on their health, either through supplements or going to doctors, that becomes more expensive almost. What would you say? Like, is it worth it to make the changes? And also, for people to know, like, you're not going to just start and, from day one, eat everything and do like we do. You start out one step at a time and just little by little work your way into changing. But has it been worth it? Like what was it? What are your final thoughts, I guess? Like how would you encourage people to give it a try and, tell us?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Um, it's hard to like, no. So basically you're being preventative. Like you want to be healthy now. You don't want to, age and get a health condition down the line and then wish that you had done things, because it's going to be a lot more work and more money to undo some of the health conditions that are developing because of our food quality than it is to just invest in yourself, really, to make good decisions now. I guess is probably the easiest way. It's kind of hard to like place a value. If you have a health condition, it's definitely going to affect your quality of life. Um, and I think that's more of kind of like the wake up call that I had and you had, and maybe a lot of other people have had, is you start looking for these answers because you already have a problem. So if people aren't interested in making changes, it's kind of hard to just convince people that think they're healthy that they aren't. So you have to be open to like making the best decisions for yourself and for your future, and kind of make yourself a priority.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that. Because it's exactly that. Like, it's really the people that have gotten to a point like me where like, I have all of these issues. I'm tired all the time, gaining weight, brain fog, anxiety. My hair is falling off. Like, I literally feel like my body's shutting down. And sometimes it takes a crisis like that for someone to wake up and say, okay, I got to do something about my health. And until then, a lot of people just don't care. But if you're watching this, if anyone's watching this and you're at that point where you want to make a change, then I highly recommend that, you go through our programs, sign up for our energy and fat loss study groups whenever it becomes available. Like I said, I only do these every now and then. I'm not a doctor. I started sharing this just because I feel like it's the right thing to do. This isn't really like my full-time thing. And whenever I make time for it, like I'll do them. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've dealt with so many people. A lot of people think that I'm trying to like sell them stuff, and like, all that I really want is this. Like, this makes me happy. A success story from someone that went through the principles that I don't even feel like I came up with them, because all I did is I just learned fermentation. I learned how to brew beer and realized that that's gut health. And I'm just sharing that with everyone. So if it makes sense, learn about it, apply it. And I really look forward to someday hearing your success story as well. So that's all for today. Leah, thank you so much for, getting on a call and sharing your story. I'm sure that there's going to be people that are going to resonate with, the things that you say, your story and your experiences. So I really want to thank you for it. This has been great and amazing. And for everyone else, stay tuned. I'm still going for more. We're going to get a lot more success stories, and we hope that you are the next one. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys later. See ya.